But yeah, no, it's good to finally meet you.
Yeah, for real. It's good to hang out. And Marshall, I haven't seen you in a minute.
It's been a few years, probably since what? My goodness, I'm gonna say, man,
I don't even
2010,
know,
2011?
2013.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh man, you've
It's
been
good
gone
seeing
that
you
long?
again.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. You're looking good, man.
Thanks, you too.
I almost thought about. We just got back from. We had been down in Salt Lake, and I was like, "Oh man, we could just cruise over to Nevada and actually like meet you in person, do in person."
For real.
Yeah.
You go to Salt Lake often?
No, sometimes we'll go and meet Ashley, my wife's parents down in Salt Lake sometimes to get together with them. It's about the halfway point because they live in Phoenix.
Nice. Yeah, you're up in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
Nice. So we're actually not that far away from each other, probably.
No, it was actually surprising to me that you were in the same time zone.
Yeah.
And so, because me and Marshall were just talking about that, when he sent you the message, he was like, I was like, well, what is he in Mountain Time Zone? Because that could really get a little interesting as to what time we start if we were in 3 different time zones.
Right. Yeah, I'm constantly forgetting what time zone I'm in because I've moved too many times.
Yeah.
State stuff, so I'm constantly like forgetting where I am.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, we're gonna let's start the show, huh?
All
Let's
right.
go for it.
All right.
Fearless.
Chase.
Bold.
Following.
Courageous.
Search. I'm Aaron,
And I'm Marshall.
and this is
Undaunted.
Pursuit. All right, hey guys, and welcome back to Undaunted Pursuit podcast. We have a very special treat for you today. Of course, I've got Marshall, my co-host, and we're gonna get to introducing our guest here. If you heard him at the beginning, well, I know words can't describe, but we have the amazing Zak Tindal. You've heard his music. So welcome, Zak. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. It's a treat for sure.
I love your background there. All your guitars and
yeah, it's a slow collection. I ain't
Now,
trying
is
to
that
be
all the
broke,
guitars
so
you have?
just slowly adding one at a time. I have one more. I think I left it at the church, so other than that, yeah, it's almost it.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Probably too many, honestly, at this point.
Nah.
I don't think I
You can
need
never
any.
have too many guitars as a
For a
musician.
musician, yeah, it's like
Man,
guns.
you know what? Thank you. That actually feels better. Now I can go buy some more, and I don't have to feel guilty about it. And if my wife asks me why, I'll be like, Marshall and Aaron, they said you can't have too many.
No such thing.
That's right.
Christian podcast told me to do it. I did it.
Exactly. Why not?
Hey, you're sitting with a couple of musicians today. We're not anywhere near as good as you, but I've dabbled in a little bit of everything. I've dabbled in the harmonica, the banjo, the guitar. The guitar I'm probably a little better at than the rest of them. Mandolin, trumpet mainly. I'm better at the trumpet than I am anything because I spent 10 years playing the trumpet.
That's awesome.
Thinking about it, Marshall, what did you play when we were in band together?
I played the baritone and the tuba, marching and concert for probably since sixth grade. Yeah. Oh yeah. Gotta love it. Band nerds for life. Yeah,
that's
good
awesome.
times.
I didn't know that you guys were band nerds. That's great. I only did the band thing for a little bit. They gave me a tuba first thing, and I'm like, right now I'm like 5'3". Actually, I think I might even be a little shorter than that. And so when I was in grade school and they handed me a tuba, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? It's like huge. Walking down the hallway, all you can see is my legs behind this big tuba case. It's ridiculous.
Awesome.
Do you have room in your band, Zak, for a tuba player? And I mean, I guess I could probably try and play the harmonica.
I don't know about tuba, but I've got a feeling that like we could make a cool little bluegrass thing with Marshall on vocals, a little bit of a harmonica banjo mix kind of thing. I'm sure we can come up with something good.
That's good stuff.
I would not say no to doing some sort of jam session.
Oh yeah.
We might have to figure that out one of these days.
Oh, I tried bass at one time.
Yeah, nice. How was it?
Hard.
I mean, 4 strings is a little easier.
You'd think.
It's all about the rhythm.
I was broke at the time, which, well, I guess nothing much has changed. I'm still broke, so I couldn't afford to buy another bass guitar. I already had a guitar, you know. All right, so hey, Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into? How did you get your start? What got you into this?
Into playing music?
Yeah.
Well, shoot. I think I was probably 13, and I was in 7th grade, and a couple of my friends played guitar. They came from a super Western family. They had horses, and so they were like really into country music. And so they played guitar, and one of them played mandolin, and we were just trying to learn how to do different stuff. And so I was like, well, I figured I could probably figure out how to play guitar. So really, it was just about then that I started playing guitar. Not well, but figuring it out. And then I became a Christian when I was 13 that summer at camp. And when I got back from camp, I started going to church, and they noticed that I could play guitar. And then you know how it goes. They're like, "Oh, you want to join the worship team?" Like, all right, you don't understand. I'm really bad at this, but okay, that's fine. And so that's where I got started doing it. And once you have to play every single week and learn new songs and stuff, then you just have to figure it out. So it was kind of a trial by fire, but it was really good, really helpful. And so then I started writing songs, and our church was really serious about discipleship and evangelism. So a lot of my songs were evangelistic in nature.
Oh, cool.
I play them at like school talent shows and things like that to try and start conversation with friends and everything. So yeah, it's been a lot of those recordings are pretty awful from back in the day. I started doing some recording. Oh man, those high school recordings are bad.
Hey, we need to get those on the podcast, huh?
No. I still have some hiding somewhere in a box, but no, I'm ashamed of them.
Well, I did listen. I listen to your music a lot. You know, like the songs that I have been able to download, and I did notice the different. That's what I love about your music is that it all sounds different, and I can hear like from your earlier stuff to your more recent stuff how you change, like the tone and everything changes from into more of like a singer songwriter kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I think part of it is I'm just I'm really eclectic in the kind of stuff I like to listen to. You know, I'm constantly listening to all sorts of stuff. I really like reggae. I like punk rock. I like Irish punk rock. Sea shanties are pretty awesome. You know.
I've been on that kick here lately. I've been listening to a lot of Seamus Kennedy here lately.
And then there's that one that's like super popular on the internet right now. I don't even know how it goes. It's like there once was a song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is that Wellerman?
Yes, the Wellerman.
Yeah, yep.
Soon may the Wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, so sea shanties. I mean, I kind of like metal. I like a little bit of country.
Me too.
Oh, you like metal?
Oh man, I'm a huge metalhead.
No way. All right.
Yeah, so and I have changed my ways now. I listen to a lot of Christian metal now, you know, but I used to be real big into, you know, the Five Finger Death Punch and but now it's a lot of Red. My boys like Skillet. We like Pillar. We like what is it? Oh, there's another really heavy one. I think it's like War of Ages. Or
War
something
of Ages.
Like
sounds familiar. Yeah.
You know, there's a few that I really like that are, I guess, more like hardcore. It's Sleeping Giant and For Today. Yeah. Those guys are nuts.
I've never heard of them.
Oh, they're really good. Like their vocals are fantastic, but they're the thing that I really like about them is that their lyrics are extremely. I mean, I don't know if extremely biblical. I don't know if like theologically correct is the term I would describe. I haven't really sat down with a Bible to like decode their lyrics and trying to figure out if
Yeah.
it's, legitimately biblical. But like they're very, upfront with their Christianity in their songs, and it's actually really good. So Sleeping Giant, For Today, you should check them out. They're fantastic.
I will.
Yeah. So
Most definitely.
because I've got all those different musical influences, it's just kind of hard for me to make up my mind on what I want to play. And I guess the music industry kind of tells people, hey, you have to kind of pick one thing, and that's what you are. You're like a country artist, or you're like a pop artist. And I guess I don't know if I care. I'm just gonna do what I want.
Nope. You do what you want. You keep doing what you do, because I love it, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
I think as time goes on, you start seeing more and more people having that diversity in their music, though. They're not really sticking to just one genre. It's like a mixture of everything. You're starting to see a lot of that, especially in country music.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Zach Brown Band. They do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They've even got like a swing song, Underneath the Mango Tree. They've got all sorts of crazy songs. And sometimes in the same song, you'll hear reggae and then rock, and then it'll switch to something completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yep. That's awesome. All right. So I guess that brings us into our next question, our next kind of little topic that we had sent you, whatever. But so you are actually considered a singer-songwriter. I had been kind of hesitant to kind of refer to you as such, but I think I can hear that you've written most of your songs.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. So the music that I put out is all stuff I've written. I kind of think I'd like to get into writing for other people. Because some stuff just I don't think that it works as well for me as it might work for someone else. Something that I've written. But yeah. So everything that I play is stuff I've written.
Yeah. I will say one thing. I could use a little bit more of your reggae type music though in my life.
Well, that is, that is good to hear, because like I don't know a lot of people that like reggae, and I don't know a lot of Christians that like reggae, right? And so I think, I don't know, something happened back in like youth group where they're like, burn your secular CDs, not like burn them and share them with your friends, but like get rid of them, And so I don't know. I feel like reggae is one of those genres that, for whatever reason, I think it's because Rastafarianism is like a cult legitimately. And then there's, marijuana is like very heavily tied into Rastafarianism, which is kind of tied into reggae. And so people just don't want to go there, I think. But I think it's subconscious. Like reggae is awesome. People should like it, but I like reggae.
Yeah.
And, but then I have to deal with like, okay, culture. Is it like cultural appropriation? Because I'm like a white dude. I'm not from Jamaica. Right? Is that wrong now? Is that racist to play reggae? So there's all that stuff. But no, I enjoy it, and I think I'm just going to keep putting out some more of it because
keep doing you.
Fun.
Have you heard the nonsense here lately? In I guess Washington. I just heard this yesterday. You said marijuana. I guess Marshall, you'll find this funny. It was on the news, I guess. A guy at work told me about it. I guess it was on the news that marijuana is, what's the word? It's discriminatory or it's offensive now, so you have to refer to it as cannabis in Washington. Yeah.
Wow. Pretty soon, I mean, they just change. Like, they change the euphemisms. Pretty soon it's going to be something else. Cannabis is offensive. You can't say that anymore.
Right.
Everything's offensive nowadays.
No, yeah, I love... Yeah, I love the reggae. So you keep doing it.
Sweet. I've got a few more songs coming down the road that are going to be reggae. I'm actually redoing. Shoot, what is it? It's my own song. What is it? Always on the Run. I'm redoing that with more of a reggae vibe.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So I just recorded the bass line yesterday, or no, I think the day before, and it's just, oh man, it's fun. I'm excited to put it out. I've actually got my niece singing on it with me, which is crazy. She's never done anything like that before, and so that's awesome. Exciting.
Oh man, that'll be awesome.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited to hear that.
Oh, I'm stoked to put it out, man. It's probably going to be a minute. I take a little bit of time, but just because I'm so busy with everything else.
Right. Now, do you do this full time, or are you a full time musician?
Not at all. No. So I actually work at a gold mine in Nevada.
Oh wow!
No way.
Yeah. So gold mining it takes up half of the year. So it's a 5 on, 5 off schedule. So I get like 5 days in a row where I can do whatever I want. But I also I'm also a youth pastor and worship leader at our church, which is the Bridge Church in Spring Creek, Nevada, and so that keeps me busy. And then I'm also married, and that keeps me busy. And so then sometimes I have time to do some recording. So it's kind of unbalanced, but one of these days I'm hoping to have more time for doing just the stuff I want to be doing.
If you could go, I was going to say, if you could go full-time music, is that something you would want to do one day?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, I think the biggest part of it is that it would give me time to do the ministry stuff I want to be doing. And then, of course, I consider the music ministry as well. And so, that'd be awesome. I just need a few rich people. I don't have any rich uncles that are going to kick the bucket that I know of, but I just need a few rich people to be like, all right, we'll just pay for you to, get rolling.
Yep. That's kind of our ambition on here too, is to go full time doing this.
That would be awesome.
Golly, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a lot of Christian content creators out there, but I don't know that not all of them are striving to be biblical. Not all of them are striving to have their content be correct. So it makes the difference, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Well, I commend you for that gold mining, man. That's tough. I got a buddy he just came back to town. He'll be on the podcast at some point in time, but he's a millwright he was a millwright for a gold mine in Montana.
Oh, nice.
And had been at a couple of at a gold mine here in Idaho. So yeah, but it's just so wishy-washy with the funds because it's all overseas funded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So the investors, anyway.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. So I work for a pretty big gold mine out here. And so it's pretty solid. There's usually not any issues with that. The gold mines pretty much always stay going in this part of Nevada.
Oh, nice.
They might get all the gold and then you just transfer over to another mine or something, but there's plenty of gold out here. Yeah.
Wow.
Not a lot of other reasons to live in Nevada.
What kind of mining is it?
So we have open pit and underground.
Open? Okay.
Yeah. And so where we're at, it's just microscopic gold. So no big chunks of gold. Yeah, I don't see any nuggets going by on the belts or anything, which is probably good. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people would be tempted to steal the gold at that point.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
This kind of way they do it out here is they'll float the gold in some nasty mixture. I don't know what it is, some big slurry, and they'll separate it, and then and that's how they do it. I don't know what kind of chemical it is. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I just
cyanide.
know that
they're probably using cyanide.
It's nasty. It smells like rotten fish.
Oh yeah, flotation stuff. Oh, I hear that's really bad stuff. It smells bad.
Yeah,
you smell like a dead body every time you come home.
Yeah.
That can't be good for morale. No way.
No, not at all.
So I know.
So you just recently.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Marshall.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I think it's the same question that you're about to ask. Is you just recently released.
No, I want you to.
This lag's killing us.
I need a drink of coffee. I need more coffee.
So you just released.
I didn't do it.
So you just released Warfare recently. So what is it about that song or what is it that inspired that song?
Yeah, well, I mean, typically with my songs, it'll have something more of a personal nature to it. Warfare is one that didn't as much. Warfare was just kind of simple. I just wanted to write a song that encouraged believers to not get distracted by stupid things and to keep their eyes on Jesus, to keep their eyes on what the mission is. And so, especially like in the bridge to that song, our eyes have become blind to see the tide is rising higher, come to wash us out to sea. This idea that there's all these things that are trying to destroy us, all these things that are trying to pull us away from what God wants us to be doing. And we're just blind to it, right? Like we're just blind to it, scrolling on TikTok for hours and hours at a time. And like, we're forgetting what we're supposed to be doing. And so the song is to encourage believers to get in the fight and to recognize it's a fight. I mean, it's one thing to be losing a fight that you're actively engaged in, right? But then imagine not even realizing a fight's happening and you're just getting pummeled. Like you need to recognize that it's a war,
Definitely. I like that. That's deep.
I love it. I love it. That I like hearing those deeper meanings of the songs, because there always is some sort of meaning in every song. There's a reason that the songwriter wrote what they wrote,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of the times Christians will write songs that are just kind of because. I mean, with the industry being an industry, the music industry, right? You see a lot of songs come
Yeah.
out that are just kind of like, well, okay, like that's what did I get anything new from that, or is that just kind of another Christian song? I hope I try to not just write for the sake of writing if I can.
Yeah.
Right. Now, how long did it take you to write that song?
It's funny. I was actually working at the mine. I was in the crusher, and it was really loud. And I was hopefully no one from work watches this, but so I'm sitting at work, right? It's a pretty simple. The crusher's a pretty simple task. You're just sitting there. You're watching a camera. You're making sure that the crusher doesn't get plugged up, and if it does, you go and unplug it, right? But so as this is occurring, right, I've got GarageBand open on my phone, and I'm like building drum beats, and I'm like using the keyboard on the phone as like trumpets to try and get like this cool little reggae thing. And then I just started writing the lyrics down and singing and it's funny. I sent it to my wife. She's like, "That sounds awful." I'm like, "Oh, it's because I'm in the crusher." But then I later realized she just didn't like reggae. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it just sounds awful. Okay. I mean, it was loud in the crusher, but that wasn't the reason.
I do have to say one thing though. Of course, why wouldn't I like reggae? I live in a pretty chilly climate. Of course, I need something a little islandy to make it feel like I'm at the beach.
Exactly. So you can put some Zak Brown band on. I love his islandy songs because that's kind of the same. When I feel like going on vacation, but I can't because I can't afford it.
Yep.
Or because I'm done with my money and so I can't go on vacation. It's like I'll just listen to Zak Brown instead.
Well, as you probably heard, I do about the same thing. Most of you listeners know that I record while I'm driving for the mini episodes. So, yeah, we're always doing a little something. When you're busy, what else do you have to do?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wrote that song probably in this. I guess I got all the lyrics pretty much finished that night, working in the crusher. So. It's a long 12 hours sitting there looking at a computer screen.
Yeah. For sure. I had another question that I wanted to ask you. Oh, so it sounds like I was going to ask if you have a band or if you're doing this all solo. And I guess we've kind of put it together that you are piecing this together solo, huh?
Yeah. So I lead worship at our church, and so in that sense, there's a band, but not for my personal music stuff. From time to time, I'll play some music and someone will come and play with me, right? But for the most part, it's just me. Mm-hmm. What I do is I use a loop pedal. Have you guys ever heard of a loop pedal?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll put down like the 4 chords or something that go into the chorus line, and then I'll loop that, add some bass line because I've got like an octave pedal that can make it sound like a bass, and then put in some electric parts and the drum beat on the guitar. It makes it feel pretty full band. Plus, it's really engaging for people to watch, as long as I don't screw it all up in the middle and have to like delete everything. It's really bad once you like accidentally record something awful and it just keeps going and like, oh no.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I get away pretty good with covering up my mistakes if I make them.
That's awesome.
Do you have?
Yep, that's how I thought that you might be doing that.
So do you have any do you have any new like singles or new music that you're working on right now?
Yeah. I'm working on a song called "Still Moving," which is actually based on. I'm actually forgetting the passage right now. Thinking it's Ezekiel. Well, it's actually a huge chunk of Ezekiel, which is from a couple chapters before the dry bones, the Valley of Dry Bones passage. Which everyone, it's really good preaching, right? So everyone preaches on that one. You hear that one a lot. But the chapters leading up to it, it's talking about how they're being punished essentially for not following God right, And then when it gets to the dry bones part where, he's looking around and God's asking, hey, can these bones live? Right. It's talking about the people of Israel, like how their rejection and rebellion against God has caused them to be dead. And yes, God can still bring them back. And so it's about how God is still moving, even when we don't see it, even when the circumstances are awful, even when, even when we're at our worst, like personally, we're at our worst and we're running from God. The fact that we're still saying, all right, God, help me, means that God is still moving. Like, all right, God, forgive me, help me to not screw up again. That means God's still leading us. And so that's what this song's about. It's almost entirely done. Got to work a little bit more on some vocal stuff, and then it'll be done. I don't have a lot of worship songs out. I kind of try. I mean, I write kind of whatever I want to write, but I think there's secular music, and then there's sneaky Christian music. And I wouldn't classify my non-worship songs as secular. I think they're just sneaky Christian kind of songs you play, out at like a park or something, and non-Christians will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And then you get them with the gospel when they're not expecting it.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I was thinking, several months ago that Skillet was really good at that. Because they've gotten into they'll perform right alongside of a secular band.
Oh yeah,
no problem, and people have accepted them so as such.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with, like in quotations, that sneaky Christian music. Of course, that's kind of nowadays you have to kind of get it, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like kind of the same thing as when you present yourself as a normal person at work. Every word out of your mouth isn't preaching the gospel. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. When people are talking to you, they're asking you, "Hey, how's your kids? How's your family? What'd you guys do this weekend?"
Right.
And that's how I think Christian music should be. I think like our testimony isn't just the spiritual stuff. It's also the mundane, normal. Yeah, I kind of wish I could go on a vacation. I want to go island hopping, but I don't know how to sail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was raised in the woods. Like. Also, I love Jesus. God can change your life. I had to repent. I was at rock bottom. But I think that presenting ourselves as normal people is helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Being who you are day in and day out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually a funny story behind the "Go With Me" song. Is I was going through a bit of like a theology switch up, and I was in a Pentecostal church that and I was getting credentialed to be a pastor at that church. And the more I studied, the more I realized I didn't actually agree with the doctrine of that particular church. And so I was like, man. And so I had to like step down and change my, what denomination I was a part of. And it was kind of a early midlife crisis.
Right.
And I was like, forget all this stuff. This is all too difficult. I'm just going to like go buy a boat and bob around in the Pacific somewhere and live on that thing. And so that's kind of where that song came from. We actually ended up buying a boat, and armed with all my knowledge from YouTube, I was like, I'm a sailor now. I know how to sail. So I didn't know how to sail, but I thought I did. So we got stuck in the middle of this lake. The wind died down, and we didn't have a motor because I'm cheap. And the boat didn't have lights on it because I was too cheap to fix it. It was a bad deal. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know what I'm doing with sailing, but we sold the boat eventually and decided, okay, that's not for us.
That's awesome.
That's good. So you started a production company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Along with being busy. Is that yeah. is that production company just for you, or are you aspiring to try and work on collaborate with other artists?
Yeah. So Swift Cloud Records is the name of the company, and what Swift Cloud Records is it's essentially a record label, right? But of course we don't have any money because we're just starting out, and
right.
What our whole thing is, we want to help Christians to put out theologically rich, music that can help build up the church, the local church, and to help bring the gospel to the lost. And so kind of what that comes down to as far as making things happen, because I'm way too busy. I mean, I've got a guy that lives in the Philippines. His name is Ben Uribe, and he's really active. He puts out a lot of music, and he's fantastic. And he's helping a ton with a lot of the work, the day-to-day stuff. I'm partnering with a guy named Eric Abbott out of Texas, who's going to be putting in a ton of work for this as well. And oh my gosh, this guy named Victor Brown, he's a reggae artist from
oh really
from Jamaica. Man, he is so. You guys had to listen to him. I mean, honestly, you guys need to get him on the podcast. He's great.
We will try.
Yeah,
oh, he's fantastic. I bet he'd say yes if you just. I don't know what time it is in Jamaica. Actually, I think it's the same as Texas time. Weirdly enough.
Huh.
Never knew how that works. Something about the Earth not being flat. I think. I don't know how.
Oh, hey, that's for another podcast.
Sorry.
No, I'm not a flat earther, but
you can step on all the toes you need to. Oh, that's funny.
All right. Well, that'll be good content for sure. Actually, you should do it while on the phone with someone from a different continent. And be like, what time is it there? Is it daylight?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, I mean,
I've interviewed somebody from
From where?
From South Africa.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. That's a late night podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's morning there when it's, when it's night here.
Yeah, don't you know it's the government trying to deceive you, man? Don't you know that somehow they made it dark? I don't know how it works.
Right. They can shut that sun on and off like a light switch
situation.
They can make it rain and storm, and they control everything. They make the clouds,
I think the best thing with flat Earth is like, why? Why would the government care?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we can't let them know the Earth is really flat. That would just be too. I mean, why? What? What's
right.
the problem?
Yeah, why does it matter?
Oh, that's funny.
It's like all this time and effort.
I've yet to see or hear of somebody falling off the edge of the Earth.
Yeah, no, it hasn't happened yet. Not yet. No, well, I mean, honestly, if it did, I guess we wouldn't know about it if they all did fall off. We couldn't have a conversation with them anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
But but no, with Swift Cloud Records, we got a bunch of people from all over the place that are going to be helping out. And so, everyone's going to be super open-handed with their resources and their time, and doing what we can to get the music out and promoting it and setting up different shows and different venues, helping out local churches. So it's we're just actually getting it rolling. And so I don't know, it's probably been just about probably not even maybe 3 months of me really pushing it. So I'm really excited about it. Honestly, I'm super stoked. So hey, if you guys
hopefully we can help with that.
Artists over at your have any artists over at your churches or in your area, we'd love to come out, and as well as I'm sure that they'd love to come on the podcast and say hey.
Definitely,
for sure. Heck yeah. Well, I got to ask you, my favorite song, besides your newest one, Warfare. I'm a real outdoorsy kind of guy. I like to hunt. I like to fish. I like everything there is about the outdoors. And one song that I've really come to relate to is Adventurers and Rogues.
Mm.
What inspired that? Now, I think I had. Are you from Montana?
I actually lived in Montana for a bit, but I'm actually I was born in Alaska. So the song is about growing up off grid in Alaska.
I thought so. Yeah. No wonder I can relate to it.
Are you from Alaska?
No. But I'm being outdoorsy. It's just a really relatable song.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, we grew up in Alaska, me and my family, and it was awesome. It was a great time. But there's a lot of things that you just don't like you tell them. You're like chatting with people, and you're like, oh yeah, when I was growing up, we did this, and they look at you like, what'd you guys do? You're like, oh yeah, no, it was normal. Well, you didn't have power? No, that was normal. It was fine.
Yeah.
It's like you just see bears walking by every once in a while. Oh yeah, that was fine. That was not a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome song. I was wondering what inspired that song. What was the meaning that you were shooting for with that?
Yeah, well, honestly, I was listening to "Take Me Home, Country Roads" a
Mm.
lot
Uh-huh.
that week, and I was like, man, my story's better than that. And so I was like, I'm gonna write my own one about growing up, and so that's what I ended up doing. But the song kind of, a lot of times this happens with me, is where the song kind of starts one way and then just sort of takes a totally different route. Um, like the line in the song, "No one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues." The idea there is you have to make the choice beforehand, and it's kind of with anything. Like, am I
Uh-huh.
too afraid to deal with some discomfort? Like, am I too afraid to have to make difficult choices? Am I too afraid? What it kind of comes down to is that, am I afraid of being afraid? And if you are, you're just going to take the easy route, and you're going to do whatever's most convenient, and you're probably going to lose out on a lot of very valuable things you could have experienced. Um, and like growing up in Alaska is that way too. Like,
Uh-huh.
some crazy people will move their family out into the middle of the woods in Alaska, and everyone else is like, that seems sketchy. But there's certainly things that you grow up with because of that are for sure worth it. Um, one of the things about the song is well. I mean, it's about growing up in Alaska, but um, the other side of that is like everything that I learned um, from Christians. I mean, Christians are rogues too. I mean, Christians are people that are going completely a different way than society is going. And it seems crazy to society that the type of things Christians want to believe or promote, or the things that we say, no, I mean, God says to live this way, so we're going to say we have to live this way. We're not going to do something else. And that seems crazy, kind of like living out in the middle of nowhere in the
Mm-hmm.
Arctic.
Uh-huh.
That sounds just as crazy to people. But I mean, I'm not too afraid to deal with some discomfort or some difficulty to follow Jesus.
Mm-hmm. I love
Perfect.
it.
I love all your music, but that was one of my favorites.
Nice, man. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad. My hope was that like outdoorsy people would listen to it and like it. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, I still have like less than 1,000 views on or listens on each song on Spotify. So, I mean, there's there's
Oh
there's more
man.
there's more outdoorsy people yet to get it in front of. So
Oh yeah.
we'll see.
I hope we can help with that for sure. All right, so we're getting on to is we got to do what we do here on Undaunted Pursuit. Is I want to kind of get into just a real short Bible study before we call it for the day. I know we've all got things we've got to do on this weekend. The weekends are short, so I wanted to talk about, we're talking with you, a musician and a worship leader. I want to talk about worship
Awesome.
and what the Bible says about worship, um, and we'll get into a couple other points there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
So,
stoked about it. Let's do it, man.
okay, all right. So first, I wanted to define what worship is, because when most people think about worship, they generally think about music, and yes, that's a really good form of worship. It's real powerful. What do you think? Why do you think that song is so powerful?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a musician. Why is music so so moving
Yeah.
to us?
Well, I think that it has to do with beauty in general. So, like, I think you look at a painting, right? I think the
Hmm.
word for it is aesthetic. Things that have aesthetic value, they do something to you emotionally if you allow it to. So, like, you can sit and look at a painting and be like, cool, whatever, and then just move on. But if you, like, really sit and look at it, something that's like a beautiful painting, um, and allow it to move you, it'll move you. Music, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like, is the same way. It deals with um, it's using beauty, and so even secular music has a power to it. Um, right, like if you're feeling depressed, you might put on a band that'll kind of help you feel the way that you're feeling, if that makes sense, or that
Mm-hmm.
might
Yeah.
kind of ingrain in you an emotion that you're already wanting to have. And so I feel like worship is powerful when put to music, because music is it's just already powerful, you know. And I think God hardwired that in us, that we
Yeah,
would be able to connect emotionally to music.
I agree.
Perfect. Yeah, totally agree. I had looked up a definition, a biblical definition of what worship is, and I had found. I'm not even going to try the Hebrew word for worship, but I did find the Greek word, which is what, and both of the words mean pretty much the same thing, and it's to bow down or to lay your face to the ground, and it's to kind of be in His presence. So the Greek word proshkanao is what is used is the Greek is what we've translated out of the Greek for worship, and Greek word is most commonly used in the New Testament, and it's to um, express respect or supplication. I had come up with I had found in now obviously song is important because in worship, as part of worship, because there's a whole book of songs in the Bible, and so if we look at Psalm 96 verse 1, "Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, sing to the Lord all the earth." I kind of like that, and that we're only going to touch on a few Bible verses today because we could go on and on about the different ways to worship and the different and I noticed that the Old Testament is full of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons and tons of verses about worship, about singing, and you really reading the Bible, you really get the idea that God values music and values putting praise to music, and then even putting instruments in music, and then even putting cymbals and drums to
tambourines,
and then there's even dancing in the Old Testament that you can put to music.
So no, dancing. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since we're doing that, sorry, this wouldn't be an Undaunted Pursuit podcast with a couple of interruptions from the kids stuff. But anyway,
good.
Hey, my beautiful wife has come in, and yes, she wrote me a note. Hey, say hi. You want to meet Zach? Come on. You need to be on the. Oh. She was holding the door closed so the kids don't come in here.
She's like, I'm busy. I can't be on camera right now.
Right. She's like, I'm just trying to keep your daughter out. Okay, so, well, since you brought up the dancing, now, that is kind of kind of frowned upon by some people. Why is that, do you think?
Yeah.
Where did they get that idea that dancing as a form of worship is wrong, even when it's in the Bible?
Right. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. It's probably like an overreaction to like the Roaring 20s, where everyone was like going out and partying and dancing all the time, and and drinking, and then that was also when churches started cracking down on like, hey, Christians can't have any alcohol kind of stuff, and then I guess dancing went along with it, so they're like, no dancing. That's my guess. Whenever I hear a sermon or something where someone says something negative about dancing, which isn't often, but every once in a while I do, and it's not like they're like, oh, it's sensual. Is it sensual? I mean, I don't want anyone to start twerking in church, but like,
right.
I mean, that would be sensual. That'd be distracting for sure. But like, some sort of subdued, non-distracting, non-bizarre dancing would be, I feel like, normal and fine.
Right. And I think that, as with anything, God knows your heart too. So however you decide to worship, whether it's dancing, we're going to get, we'll go through, there are the other forms, prayer, just sitting in silence, out enjoying nature. He knows your heart. So if you're reflecting on being in His presence, then He knows your heart. So if however you're dancing, however you're singing, He's going to take delight in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually got a verse here that says it's in, let's see, we're in Colossians 2:16 and 17, and it talks about not criticizing the way other believers worship. And it says, therefore, do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival. And it says a new moon celebration or a Sabbath day, These are a shadow of the things that were to come. The reality, however, is found in Christ. And then it kind of explains it down below. It says, Paul told the Colossians, or the Colossian Christians, not to let others criticize their diet or their religious ceremonies. Instead of outward observance, believers should focus on faith in Christ alone. Our worship traditions and ceremonies can help bring us close to God, but we should never criticize fellow Christians whose traditions and ceremonies differ from ours. So I think that's something really important to keep in mind when it comes to worship too.
Yeah, yeah, we need to be careful not to make an idol out of something that's because Paul was like, really, Christ is a fulfillment of all of those festivals and ceremonies, right? Because the issue is that the Jews were looking down on the Christians who, like the Jewish Christians were looking down on the Gentile Christians who felt a freedom in Christ to not do certain festivals and different Sabbaths and things like that. And so his point was, hey, like, don't look down on people because they have a difference in how they understand essentially understand peripheral matters that aren't as, it's all about Jesus, don't like if someone makes an idol out of, hey, you have to come to this or that festival, or we're doing this extra stuff and you have to be there or you're not a real Christian. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But but like if someone could make an idol out of dancing in church, that could happen. Right? Like you can make an idol out of that, I guess. And if you do that, then that's a problem. But can't judge someone because they're dancing. I have a funny story where there's a guy he decided he wanted to run in church.
Oh, really?
I guess it's fairly popular in some Pentecostal circles to run, like to do like a big circle pit kind of situation.
Yeah.
And just run. Like I've seen videos where people, like, literally the whole church is just running in a big circle around everything. And actually this happened at Forgiven Church back in Texas. I can't remember if you were on the worship team at this time.
I think I was.
Do you remember this exact event?
Vaguely. I remember specific individuals who used to do that, but yeah, you go ahead.
So I'm not going to say any names because, but we were singing a song called I Am Free by the Newsboys. And it's that song, I am free to run. And then everyone repeats it. And then I'm free to dance. And then, so this guy was like, okay. And so he was like, I'm free to run, so I'll run. And so he literally was like sprinting. And I'm like, oh no, I meant it metaphorically. And so he's sprinting like around and around. And this is a great example of like, there's nothing wrong with running. There's nothing wrong with running to express your worship, right? There's miles and miles of outdoors to go run in. But then there's the whole question of like, are you making a spectacle of yourself in the middle of a worship service and like distracting everyone from, because like the whole room was just watching him and we're singing and playing it up on the stage and we're like, this is awkward. What do we do? And so just about the time we're all praying, all right, God, what do we do? He trips on this big cable that was laying across the floor and he like flies like 10, 15 feet and rug burns. And no one laughed, no one said anything, but I think on the inside we're all like, all right, thank you, Jesus. And this is a great example of like, maybe that wasn't the best, because there's nothing wrong with running, nothing wrong with dancing, but if your dancing or your running is done in such a way that it's now the whole church service is about you doing this weird thing, okay, dude, like that's not good.
Nah, I think there's a time and place for it.
You were on the stage for that, weren't you?
I believe I was, because I remember that vaguely.
On the stage with us when we did. That was a good time, man.
Good stuff.
I've got a Bible verse for that. So what you were just talking about as far as being, kind of use your head when it comes to that, because it can turn into a spectacle. And coming out of Romans, I kind of searched for New Testament stuff because there's a lot of worship and worship by song, worship by dance, and in the Old Testament, but I wanted to find something under the New Covenant, of what Paul talked about under what we're in now, what we're in the New Covenant. So coming out of chapter 12, Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2 says, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies, dedicating all of yourselves set apart as a living sacrifice, holy and well-pleasing to God, which is your rational, logical, and intelligent act of worship. Stop there for a second, because it had outlined logical and intelligent. So he's pretty much saying, you know, use your head wisely as to how you're going to worship, you know, running in a church. Well, don't try and draw attention to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all about worshiping God and putting him first.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I think that I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but as far as if we're talking about like a definition of worship, I think that verse, those two verses in Romans 12, offers something of like a biblical definition of what it means to worship, which is to offer yourself as a living sacrifice. You know, that's a pretty big deal, and so it just kind of makes worship about every single thing that you do at all. If you're a living I mean, the whole point of a sacrifice was like, well, the whole point. I mean, what a sacrifice had to be was blameless, spotless, right? You couldn't have a crippled animal. You couldn't have a blind animal. You couldn't have one that had like some serious defect or problem. You wouldn't bring that as a sacrifice to the temple. The trouble with a living sacrifice, though, is maintaining like a purity as a Christian, is maintaining that, you know, no blemish kind of state, right? And so, sorry, hold on a second.
Whoa,
having
that
problems,
was loud.
man. Having problems. I'm adjusting my situation here. Hold on.
That's all right. I'm gonna leave that in there though.
Yeah, just boom. Was that like a really loud bang sound?
It was.
Nice one.
That's good though. That's all right.
If anyone was sleeping, falling asleep, or getting distracted, boom, wake up. No. But the trouble with being a Christian and having worship be about how we live our lives is sometimes we are a crippled sacrifice and a blind sacrifice. Like sometimes our offering is not that great, which is a reminder to constantly be in repentance, constantly say, all right, God, help me, change me, make me a worthy sacrifice. You know, I mean, Jesus is the only worthy sacrifice, but we're instructed to be living sacrifices ourselves. And so, I mean, think about Cain and Abel, right? Cain and Abel, they both brought a sacrifice, and only one of them was accepted. And, you know, I've heard different people try and come up with why, because it doesn't exactly say why, but I think that it's pretty clear when God talks with Cain. He says, Cain, why are you downcast? Right? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? And so I think that implies that Cain was bringing a sacrifice, right? He brought like his first fruits or whatever, but he wasn't living correct. And then God further says sin is crouching at the door and it desires to overtake you, right? Right. And so like this idea that as a, you know, to live our life as a sacrifice means to reject sin. And just kind of like what it's saying in Romans 12, 1 and 2, you know, renew your mind. Don't be conformed to the world, you know.
I love it. Well, we should start wrapping this up. We've gone for a while here.
But before we go, Zach, where can people find you, follow you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook at Zak Tindal Music, or I've just begrudgingly joined TikTok, which is a dumpster fire.
Oh man, I've been thinking about that, but I just don't know.
Yeah, no, TikTok is just the worst thing. It's not good. It's not good for kids. It's not good for adults. I can't think of. I mean, the only thing I can think of is it's like Nineveh, right? These people don't know their left from their right. Have you watched the VeggieTale version of the Jonah story?
It's been a long time.
Oh yeah.
They're slapping each other with fishes. That's what TikTok is like. Like these people are just out of their minds. And then I feel kind of like, well, I feel like I should go and preach to these folks.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing what I can, but we'll see. It's kind of annoying. But so you can find me on TikTok, Zak Tindal, or I think it might be Zak Tindal Music on TikTok as well. I've got a YouTube channel. You can look up Zak Tindal. The YouTube channel is very bare. There's nothing going on there really. So, but maybe one day I'll be putting out some actual content. So we'll see.
Well, we're in the same boat. Ours isn't much, but it's there.
It's there if you want to use it later, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Well, good deal, man. Thanks for doing this with us. It's been an awesome podcast.
This has been a ton of fun.
Heck yeah. It's I love the conversation. I just want to help, or I say but we just want to help you get your music out there.
Yeah.
It's so great. And, people need to hear your stuff. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and chatting with us on here. And I'm excited to see where everything goes, where you go, where your company goes, Swift Cloud Productions and everything. Again, folks, if you want a production company, we can put you in touch. Email us, undauntedpursuit@gmail.com. As always, you can contact us on there and contact us. We can get in touch with Zach if you have anything and let him know that kind of turn you on to him. So
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Marshall, you got anything else?
No, that's it. I just want to also say thanks for coming out, Zach, man. It's been great seeing you and talking with you and catching up and kind of seeing where God's taken you so far in your life. But keep in touch with us, and hopefully we'll have you back on in the not so far future.
Absolutely. We should talk about like Bethel worship, and we should talk about all the weird, crazy people out there and all of those controversies. That'd be some good content.
That would be really good,
man. Yeah, and maybe when you first let us know when you come out with your next song, and I want to get that live on here, and I want to hear that.
Sure thing.
And then let's get into that. Let's have you on when you get that done.
That sounds awesome, guys. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. I'll let you guys go, but man, it's been fun, and it's been fun reminiscing about the crazy times back in the day when we were on the worship team together, right, Marshall?
Oh yeah, it was good and crazy times.
But hey, you got to stay on. You got to stay on for just a second. I'm going to end this out here, guys. Thanks for listening to Undaunted Pursuit podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed today. Check us out on Facebook and undauntedpursuit.podbean.com. As always, prayer requests. If you want us to get in touch with Zach about something you're working on, undauntedpursuit.gmail.com. At gmail.com. And I just set up a Patreon. So there's some good things coming there. Check us out at patreon.com/undauntedpursuit. You can get on the paywall there and see what we're doing there. There'll be behind the scenes, either special gifts on the higher tiers and just some good stuff. Get on there, check it out. And I think that about covers it. Did I hit everything, Marshall?
Yeah, you're doing good.
All right, let's end this thing. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Bye.
There's a gravel road winding through the trees where I come from. It takes you to a place where no one goes. Way back in the brush, away from all the rush, to a little handmade cabin I called home. I was raised somewhere in the pines far away, where the grizzly bear and wolf are free to roam. And no one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. Risky Creek filled up and washed our bridge out in the spring, but the mountain men all mended it with the timbers from the banks. Though Mother Nature tried, she couldn't break our stride. So I bow my head to Jesus and give thanks. I was raised somewhere in the pines far away, where the grizzly bear and wolf are free to roam. No one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. The winter cold had teeth and bit us deep beneath our skin. It nearly did extinguish all the hope that lay within. The snow was 3 feet deep, but not deep enough to keep lion-hearted vagabond at bay. I was raised somewhere in the pines far away, where the grizzly bear and wolf are free to roam. And no one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. Adventurers and rogues taught me everything I know, how to dream and how to hold on to my hopes. So down the road I go. I was raised somewhere in the pines far away, where the grizzly bear and wolf are free to roam. No one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. I was raised somewhere in the pines far away, where the grizzly bear and wolf are free to roam. And no one that I knew was too afraid to be afraid. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. I was raised by adventurers and rogues. I was raised by adventurers and rogues.